Alright guys, today is a special day. It is Mother's Day, and what I want to do to start off is I want to name characteristics that describe our moms. And characteristics is a big word, but it just means a quality or something that you would use to describe your mom. Okay, maybe for instance, you think your mom is funny. Okay, I know my mom is funny. Maybe you think that your mom is kind or nice. Those words mean the same. Okay. Maybe she is smart. She knows a lot of stuff. Maybe she is friendly. Kind of goes along with kind or nice. But friendly. She makes a lot of friends very easily. Maybe she is, this is an important one, brave. Or she shows courage. Maybe you have others that you'd like to add, but today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on how to be brave and how to show courage, just like something that you may use to describe your mom, okay? So our lesson today is how God encouraged his people, and it focuses on how Mordecai refused to bow to Haman. But Miss Savannah is going to focus on one individual in particular, and that is Queen Esther, who we've been talking about. And I think Queen Esther, now whether or not she was a mom, I'm not sure because we haven't talked about that yet. But I think that she was a very strong lady and that she displayed some of the characteristics that we talk about for our moms. I think that she's really brave and courageous, and that's something that we're going to see in today's story. Okay? So, if you remember, last week we talked about Esther's cousin, Mordecai. There's Mordecai right here. And Mordecai, he did his job every single day. If you remember, he had to stand by the gate of the king's palace. Well, one day as Mordecai was standing at the gate, a man named Haman came by. And the king had promised Haman to an important, powerful position in the government. Haman was a proud and selfish man. So we have Mordecai and we have Haman. Okay, so we have these two men right here. And remember, we have Mordecai, who was Esther's cousin. He had instructed her and he had told her not to tell the king that he was a Jew, or that she was a Jew. And he had raised her sort of like he took care of her like a dad would. But they were very close. And now we have Haman, who was an important man, and he was promised a powerful position in the government or in the kingdom. Well, as Haman walked by, people bowed low to the ground and worshipped him. So people were worshiping Haman over here. Let's move Mordecai over a little bit. Okay, so people were bowing down and they were worshiping him. They were afraid not to. Everyone bowed to Haman except Mordecai. Mordecai did not bow down to Haman. And there's a reason why. I wonder if you remember why. Mordecai would not bow down and worship a man. Mordecai remembered what God had said, and he remembered that God's law said that we are not to worship anyone or anything but God alone. So Mordecai was following God's law. He was not bowing down to worship any man. Day after day, Haman went by. And day after day, Mordecai stood tall and would not bow down. Has anybody here ever decided to do something that they knew it was wrong, but they did it anyways? I'm sure that some of you probably have. And you know what? That's okay. We just have to ask the Lord for forgiveness. But we should always do what we know is right and what would be what the Lord wants us to do. So looking at Esther 3:5. Let's see. Esther 3:5. It says, "And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath." Hey, wrath. Wrath is a big word. But it says, how did Haman feel about Mordecai? He was filled with wrath. And what do you think wrath means? If you said that it meant he was very angry, then you are correct. That Mordecai, Haman fumed. He refuses to bow. Just who does he think he is? Doesn't he know who I am? I am the king's trusted advisor. I must find a way to get rid of this Mordecai. Haman knew that Mordecai was a Jew. He thought and thought, I will not only get rid of him, but I will get rid of all of the Jews. They should know better than to disrespect me. So we're going to switch out characters. So remember, this is Haman and Mordecai. And then these were the people that would always bow, not so much out of reverence, but more so out of fear. So we're going to switch out our characters really quick. So we know that Haman was very angry and he was going to take the next step, and he felt like he was being disrespected. So let's see what happens next. And we're going to go to our text again in Esther 4, 8, and 9. Esther 4, 8, and 9. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, and to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hatach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Okay, so let's see what happens next. And it says, Haman went to the king with his plan. He said, O king, there are people in your kingdom unto who do not keep your laws. So let's see. Haman. And you have King Ahasuerus. So Haman and King Ahasuerus. Let's move them a little closer together. There we go. So Haman, King Ahasuerus. So Haman, he's went to the king, and he's told him that people are not keeping his laws like they're supposed to. In fact, they have their own laws that are different from your laws. These people don't honor you or respect you. O king, write a law to all these people. I will pay you a lot of money to do this thing. King Ahasuerus didn't like hearing that there were rebellious people in the kingdom. He didn't like the idea that his people were not obeying his laws. Very well, King Ahasuerus said, if this is what you think is best, we will sign such a law. This was terrible. The law said that in a few weeks, all the Jews in Persia would be put to death. Do you guys remember who was a Jew? Remember? Queen Esther was a Jew. And the king has just signed a law saying that all the Jews would be put to death. But King Ahasuerus did not know that Esther was a Jew. Well, Queen Esther was a Jew. The king's law meant that his beautiful queen, along with Mordecai and all the other Jews, would be killed. But King Ahasuerus and Haman did not know Queen Esther was a Jew, because Mordecai had told her not to tell anyone. So let's see what happens next. So, believe it or not, this right here is King Ahasuerus. He put on old clothes when he heard oh, sorry, this is not Haman. This is, or King Ahasuerus. This is Mordecai. So her cousin, Queen Esther's cousin, Mordecai. When he was so sad when he heard the news about the new law that all of the Jews would be killed, that the Bible says he put on scratchy, tattered clothes called sackcloth. If you remember, this was Mordecai before, what he looked like before. And now he's put on old, dirty, scratchy clothes, and he doesn't even look like he did before. Not at all. So Mordecai, he was so sad, and he rubbed ashes on his skin, put ashes on his head. He sat down by the palace gates in a pile of ashes and cried out loud. He would not eat. He was sad, not only for his life, but for the lives of Esther and all the Jews. So let's see what happens next. So you can see that he is just so disturbed about what is going on. So Queen Esther, soon Queen Esther's servants told her, this is one of her servants, Queen Esther's servants, they told her, that your cousin is crying and wearing sackcloth. He is sitting in a pile of ashes, and all the Jews in the country are crying and wearing sackcloth too. So you can see the servant that was really concerned about Mordecai, he's telling her what Mordecai looks like. Esther was upset. What could be wrong? She sent a servant with new clothes to Mordecai, but he would not put them on. Mordecai told the messenger about the king's new law and gave him a copy of the king's law. So the servant went to Mordecai. He had new clothes to give to him, and Mordecai wouldn't put the clothes on, the new clothes. Mordecai, he instructed the servant, he said, tell Queen Esther that Haman has plotted to kill us. Tell her she must go before the king and beg for the lives of her people. This is why God has placed her on the throne. The messenger, he hurried back over to Queen Esther to talk to her in the palace. And when Esther read the law and heard the message, she was afraid. She sent a message back to Mordecai. And this is what it said in Esther 4:11. It says, and the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, shall come into the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden sepulchre, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. So she had told her servant that she had not been called into the king. She said, everyone knows that no one may go before the king unless the king calls for him. Esther explained, if anyone goes before the king without being asked, the penalty is death. Unless the king holds out his golden scepter, the king has not sent for me for 30 days. Well, the servant went back to Mordecai, and Mordecai told the servant another message. He said, your life is also in danger. Just because you're in the palace does not mean you won't be killed too. So the servant was supposed to go to Esther and tell her. And Esther, she sat down and she thought, and she probably wandered around and thought some more, and she read the law over and over and over again. She probably even prayed too. And in Esther 4:16, it tells us, go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink the 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Esther had come up with a plan that she would go ahead and go in unto the king, even though he had not asked to see her. But first, she was going to pray and fast for 3 days. To fast means that they would not eat, They would only pray, and after 3 days, Esther would go to the king, even though she was risking her life. Next week, we'll find out what happens to Queen Esther. Will she have the courage to go to King Ahasuerus without being called? Will all the Jews be killed? What will the king do? We know that God is in control of everything. God will help Esther have courage. Like I said, I really like Esther and how she showed courage, and I think that she displays several characteristics that we can see within our own moms. Here she's very fashionable, but she's also very kind, which we talked about in one of our previous lessons. She was very caring. She cared about others. She was also friendly, smart, because think of how she read the laws over and over and how she was encouraged by God to do things that hadn't been done before. Like it says, she is going to go see the king, and she knows that it could put her life in danger. But most importantly, how brave she is. And I think that that's something that we all see with our moms. Sometimes our moms will do what they can to protect us, even if that means putting themselves in harm's way. So I just want to end with our Bible verse today. And I encourage you to say a little prayer and thank God for your mom today, or for your mom and your grandma and your aunts and any lady that is a positive figure in your life. Okay, thank God for them today. So our Bible verse today comes from Psalms 46:1, and it says, God is a very present help in trouble. God is a very present help in trouble. Psalms 46:1. I hope you guys enjoy your day today. Make sure to give your mom a big old hug and a kiss, and have a great day.